Hey there, adventurers, and welcome back to another episode of the Awkward Dungeon Master. This week, I want to talk to you guys about how we work through the reality of running a game like Dungeons and Dragons, specifically in regards to physics and actual science. So the reason I wanted to talk to you guys about this is I have had it come up a few times in the last few years of running games in public play spaces where people want to use real life science to solve problems in Dungeons and Dragons. And that's fantastic. I don't want to knock people for using creative ways to get around problems in the game. I do, however, want to make sure that we're not allowing the way that actual real life science functions to kind of nerf the game. Because the second you start trying to use things like that to kind of cheat, for lack of a better term for that, it kind of ruins the game when everything is too easy. So, for instance, and this was partially a failure on my part, I had a player who wanted to use cantrips to break a lock. He used, I think it was Shape Water and Burning Hands. I think it was Produce Flame. Yeah, it had to be Produce Flame. This individual is obviously very smart. It's usually my really intelligent players that kind of want to do things like this. And I have to struggle to find the balance between not punishing them for being smart and creative and not allowing them to just bulldoze over everything that's in front of them by using logic, like real life logic. Because, I love all you guys, but it's a fantasy game. So at some point we kind of have to draw the line in the sand there. But I digress. So this player had a very creative way to get through a lock that nobody had been able to pick or break thus far in the game. He wanted to use Shape Water and Produce Flame to freeze the lock with water inside of it, and then heat it up to melt it. So his reasoning was that the metal would have to expand and contract with the intense temperature changes, and that would eventually break the lock. Because that's how science works. That should weaken the mechanism enough that they could pop it apart. And he is not wrong. So, the first time they ran into a lock like that, I was like, absolutely, that will work. You spend a couple minutes doing that, and it works. A few minutes later, they get to a bigger, beefier lock, and he wants to just do that again. And I'm like, okay, so here's the deal. That first lock was kind of a piece of shit, so that worked no problem in a couple minutes. This is going to take at least an hour. Oh my lord. He was very frustrated. He was insistent that it should work this time because it worked last time, and I'm like, okay, yes, it did work last time. That is not how things are written in the book. That was something that I allowed you to do as your DM because you were creative and it made sense, so I let you do it. However, that's a pair of cantrips. You're giving a lot of power to a pair of cantrips, and I can't let you just bulldoze over every single locked door in this entire game using cantrips. Because then everything is going to be broken and you're taking away from the fun of everybody else at the game by taking away all of the challenge. My way of working around that in this instance was to say, this lock is very well made and it's hefty. It's going to take time. I'm not telling you no, I'm just saying it's going to take a significant amount of time. Do you think that in this hostile environment that you have an hour to sit here and work cantrips on this lock in the open? Life's about choices. So I feel like that was a good compromise. My player obviously wasn't horrendously pleased with the outcome, but truly, when you're making a compromise, is everybody happy? Is anyone happy? The answer is typically no, unless you just have a bunch of really cool, chill people in your life, in which case, can you send them my way? Because that would be nice. Anyway, so that's kind of the way that I advise working through those types of issues. I feel like I'm always learning running this game, no matter how much I've encountered as a dungeon master or how much I've grown as a dungeon master over the last few years. I always find somebody that will throw something new at me. So my advice to you is to go with your gut anytime something like that pops up, and make a ruling that you feel like is fair both to the mechanics of the game and to your players. So, if you guys have anything to add to the conversation about the use of real-life science and physics to work through problems within this wonderful game that we all play, please throw those down below because I'd love to have a chat with you guys about it. And until next time, keep it rolling, adventurers.